Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Animac here from the YouTube and Twitch channel Anime Uproar, and welcome to another episode of the One Piece Virgin podcast. In this episode, we're going to be finishing off Dressrosa, and boy, did a lot of things happen in those 21 chapters. It's absolutely insane. There's so much to talk about. I have pages of notes, and I'm super excited for it. Joining us for the first time on the One Piece Virgin podcast, the masked man.
Yo, what's up? Glad to be here.
Glad to have you, man. I don't know why I said masked twice, but
that's how masked he is. Because in the words of Kakashi, under his mask, he has another mask.
Yeah, no, that's philosophical.
It's because he's Madara, he's Obito, he's Toby. There's too many layers of this mask.
The layers of this man. He's like onions.
You know I'm a Naruto virgin. But anyway, he was on the Rant Cafe podcast the other week, and then we said we have to have this man on the One Piece Virgin as well.
Yeah, because he had DOFLAMINGO as his 10th favorite anime character of all time.
Leave it at there, Nux. Leave it at there. Leave it at there. Leave it at there.
Yeah, just leave it at that.
Yeah, that's it. It's not like you like Naofumi from Shield Hero more than DOFLAMINGO. That totally did not happen.
You're not gonna let that die anytime soon, right?
No,
never.
No.
Okay,
probably never.
And we have, of course, Nux here, Nuxanor.
Nux and Briggs.
Nux and Briggs.
I said Nux. Okay, I didn't say Nux and Briggs.
All right, so continue, Animac.
We also have Briggs, who is his own.
Nux and Briggs.
Nux and Briggs.
Oh man, you guys are lame. You guys.
God bless you, man.
Anyway, if you mean me for dealing with them,
yes.
Yeah, for sure, man. So you get me, bro. You get it.
Yeah, I get it.
Also, thank you guys so much. Mac and Mask. I like it. I like that.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you guys for supporting the One Piece Virgin podcast. I see that a bunch of you have been sharing it online and all that type of stuff and with others. From what I've seen with podcasts, word of mouth is still the main way to go. It's not like YouTube where search algorithms are and recommendations are the thing that gets the word out. With podcasts, it still is word of mouth. So if you do support a podcast and you want to tell your people about it, tell your fan communities, it really does mean a lot to us. And we're going to keep it going. And also, if you're a fan of the Dragon Ball Virgin podcast, that is going on as well on our Twitch and on the podcast platform, Spotify, etc. So definitely check that out as well. It's happening every Wednesday. Guys, I don't know where to start because there was so much that happened. Wow.
I suggest starting at the beginning, but hey, that's just me.
Since the dawn of time.
So, yeah.
And before we continue, this video is brought to you by the Ridge Wallet, the light, sleek, and industrial wallet that doesn't fold or bulge in your pocket. I honestly love how thin and small this wallet is. You guys know that I'm a Chad, and that means, I got decent sized thighs. Traditional wallets really get in my way and leave a tight bulge in my pocket that is extremely annoying. Ridge is super easy to slide in and out of your pocket. It holds up to 12 cards with extra room for cash, and it's just a great looking wallet overall. There are 30 colors and styles to choose from, including the absolutely chadly aluminum raw and titanium matte black, which are the two that I chose. The Ridge is so durable that each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. And if you don't believe me on the quality, you can check out their 30,000 5-star reviews. In fact, the Ridge team is so confident that you will love their product that they'll let you test drive it for 45 days. If you don't love it, you can send it back and get a full refund. Check it out for yourself. Go to ridge.com/rant and use the code RANT for a 10% discount right now. They've got free worldwide shipping and returns, and it really is a top tier product. So check it out, visit ridge.com/rantcafe and use code RANT or click the link down below.
So, yeah. So in the final part of this arc, so the last episode of the podcast, we finished with Dofi implying that Traffy is dead and that Luffy is about to see his dead body. And it makes it seem like Traffy is dead because Dofi shoots him multiple times after Law refuses to make him immortal by doing the whole OPOP fruit sacrifice. But then we realize, obviously, that Law was actually using his chambers, but it was such a wide-ranging chambers that they didn't even notice he was using it. And that power is still so crazy that it's hard to even know what's happening and how he's using it and whose organs he's taking out and replacing. So it was definitely a crazy beginning to this part of the arc, and then it just got crazier and crazier from there.
Hell yeah! Crazier and crazier from there. You heard it here first.
Okay, so I guess I just gotta go again.
Listen, you didn't mention any specifics yet that we could talk about. You were just okay, epic fight happened.
Yes, yes. Well, I don't want to jump too far ahead because we had the whole Dofi versus Traffy fight where Traffy tries to use his a fruit to like burn Dofi's insides, but then Dofi is able to use his devil fruit to kind of
dude, it's not just fruit. It's called the Gamma Knife, and that is a freaking badass name of an attack. God damn it.
Yes, Knox, true, and use that, but then Dofi was able to like repair himself using his strings on the inside, which I thought was a cool thing. And then as Dofi's about to kill Law, we have the big leg block moment, bro.
So before you mention the leg block moment, which I love, just to mention why I think that whole string thing was so cool. He's a paramecia fruit. He's not a Logia. It's not like he becomes a fireball or whatever, but still he has such like a mastery over his fruit that he's able to do something like this, which isn't necessarily a genetic aspect to the fruit itself.
No, yeah, we're gonna talk about that because
that is showed more later in the
Dofi's like mastery of his fruit and how far he's been able to take it is amazing, and I think it's like obviously a big thing that's gonna be important in the future. But yeah, so we have the big leg block moment where Luffy blocks Dofi's leg with his leg. It's all like very dramatic. They do like a leg duel.
You
like
got the Conqueror's
leg
hockey,
swords,
electricity flying outwards. That looks super cool as well.
Yes. I think that moment with like Dofi's leg on top of Luffy's leg over Law's body is like probably the most powerful scene of the entire arc.
I've actually seen that image before.
Yeah.
I didn't know the context, but I've seen it before because it's definitely iconic.
But it is so iconic. And even before Law falls down, when Dofi's like, "Oh, Law," and he like points his little like musket gun thingy to his head, and he's like, "A truly worthless 13 years for you. I pity you." Like, it's over.
Yeah, because Law spent 13 years or however many years it was. Was it 13 or 16 or something?
I think it was 13.
Yeah, so he spent many years plotting his revenge on Dofi because Dofi killed Corazon, which was like Law's mentor and father figure. And Dofi basically is like, you wasted all these years preparing to do all these things because I'm going to kill you right here and now. You done, bitch. It's over. But then our boy Lucy.
Lucy is a gladiator from the Colosseum. Don't mix him up. He comes back.
I'm not gonna lie. I was a little upset when I saw that his nickname for himself was Lucy. I was like, Luffy, are you kidding? Nah, but that
dude, why is that a problem?
I mean, about that
was a funny moment where like Luffy's just done, and he's supposed to like stay like undercover, and he's like, "Oh, what's your name for to enter the Colosseum?" Luffy. Oh, Lucy, and then they kept that gag going for the literally. DOFLAMINGO versus Luffy in the final moments when they're announcing the fight, they still refer to him as Lucy, and I love that commitment.
Yeah, no, but I think that this is one few times that One Piece actually copied from something else. I may be wrong. Maybe it's just because I experienced it in this order. But in Seven Deadly Sins, like right in the beginning, there was a tournament arc, and they're like, "So, what is your name?" And Meliodas is like, "Meliodafu."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure One Piece is even before that.
I would imagine that gag has been used hundreds of times. Like
the incorrect name.
The incorrect name, but I love how One Piece consistently stuck with it for
but that lasted
100+ chapters.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This was over 100 chapters, and that was like one episode.
Yeah, I wonder because that would have been at least like 7 years ago that this first came out in the manga. And Seven Deadly Sins, that is an early part.
The anime started in 2014, so the manga must be older.
Yeah, so it's probably around the same time, to be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe. Right. But, like, I mean, it is a gag that I feel like many will do. But I do.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying that One Piece copied. It's just, it's funny that they both have, like, a similar gag with the main character being...
Yeah, and it fits. It fits both main characters because they're both, like, funny dudes.
Yeah.
Sate.
But that...
Sate.
But that scene, though, with the leg block, I think the coolest thing about it is when I did an analysis on writing an antagonist and how you want to do it, and they had been essentially building up DOFLAMINGO for even way before his arc in Dressrosa, right?
Yeah.
We had him introduced near chapter, I think if I'm correct, it's 330. So when this leg block moment happens and you see just how much bigger DOFLAMINGO is than Luffy, one of the most important things about your antagonist, or at least in a conventional sense of writing, is it's smart for them to be the dominant force. And Doflamingo makes it very apparent throughout the entire arc, and just with this scene alone, that he's the dominant force in this fight. And Luffy's going to have to kind of reach in his bag to beat him.
That's actually why...
that was just my thoughts on
that's why Oda draws his antagonist so large. That's why Doflamingo, despite being a human, even though he doesn't refer to himself as a human, is like 10 feet tall. He's 10 feet tall because he wants the antagonists to be these larger-than-life like creatures. And then he could do these scenes where Luffy is small in comparison, and he has to overcome this larger, bigger obstacle.
Yeah, so again, I mentioned this in
how big. What's that?
Sorry,
I forgot how big Dofi was. Like at this point, until you get that comparison with Luffy, because Luffy, you know, is like Luffy's like an average human, and then you compare him to like Dofi, you're like, bruh.
Right. Yeah, and it's not even just the height of Doflamingo, because I like what Briggs pointed out from an aesthetic point of view. It works, especially with that panel or that scene in the anime. But on top of that, Dofi's personality, like he's just been looking down on everybody he's fought up to this point. Which just adds to everything he's been doing.
Yeah, and this is then the next moment. The fight begins, the big Dofi Luffy fight, and Luffy unlocks.
Before you get into the fight, so interestingly enough, in almost all of our final battles with Luffy versus like a main antagonist, I've mentioned this in a previous podcast. You see how the antagonist has a goal that's sort of justified in a weird way, even though that they are going about it the wrong way, and Luffy, by defeating them, will also need to take up the mantle of their goal. Remember I mentioned that to you in the past?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Doflamingo's goal is essentially, he hates the Celestial Dragons, right? He also wants to make some pretty crazy changes in the world. And by Luffy actually fighting him now, if he defeats him, he'll need to take up the mantle for the thing that Dofi was trying to succeed in doing the whole time also.
Yeah, because at the end of the arc, Dofi is, when he's captured, he is talking to the Marines, like the old lady Marine, I forget her name.
Yeah.
And he's saying, like, do you realize now what's going to happen? You have disrupted the balance of power by allowing me to be overthrown. Now it's going to be way crazier. The world's going to go into even more chaos. So he's essentially saying that, yeah, Luffy did this. Now he has to take responsibility for the changes that are going to be made.
Right.
That as well. I feel like it's not super spelled out, the Celestial Dragon thing, but it's something that's time and time again you see that Luffy has to take on. I think what Doflamingo's talking about there is like...
Yeah, with Kaido and...
Exactly. Like, he's got a relationship with Kaido and Caesar and Big Mom, and all this stuff is going on with the government because he was a Shichibukai. All the balances are going to be shifted, and when that happens, things go into chaos. And he loves chaos, of course.
It is mentioned that we see briefly when people realize, when that announcement goes out about Dofi being defeated, Luffy and the Straw Hats have a lot of people praising them and saying, wow, they did this great thing. And they have a lot of people becoming their enemies because they're like, yo, where am I going to get my weapons now?
Right,
he promised me these devil fruits. It's all these Straw Hats' fault. We got to kill those Straw Hats. So like, by doing what they did, they're going to make some friends, but they're also going to make enemies.
Yeah, I think that's a good lesson. You never mess with the plug. Because that's what Doflamingo pretty much is. Like, real talk, like, he put himself in a position, because later on, it's pretty apparent that Doflamingo, whilst although he's extremely powerful, he isn't the most powerful in all of One Piece, even up to that point. Right?
Not even close.
Right. But he put himself in a position to where he's quite literally untouchable, or even if you do mess with him, there will be severe consequences. And I think that's what compelled me the most. And I think that's why his nickname, the Joker, is absolutely brilliant. Because taking from the Joker, Batman, right?
Yeah, not the most powerful villain in the slightest.
But he is the most dangerous in Batman, even though there are antagonists in Batman that are, geez, man. But that's like the thing about Doflamingo that's so sick, and that's why I say, like, you don't mess with the plug, because Doflamingo pretty much put himself in a spot where both sides need from him, and he just connects to so many different things. Like you say, once you shake up the establishment, you're going to have people who were hurt by that establishment are going to be happy. The people who benefited from that establishment are going to be very, very pissed.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's just the aftermath of what's happening.
And it reminds me of diplomacy in our own world, and especially even more so like back in the 1800s and 1700s, like when you had 5 different great powers, and there was a very delicate balance in Europe in particular. And if anything, little thing was disturbed, that could cause a massive war, massive realignment, thousands of deaths, just because, you know, one little city was taken over by one of the powers and another one didn't like it. So yeah, diplomacy in is very intricate and delicate business. And especially in a world like One Piece, which is not like our own modern world, it is more like a I guess historical world where it was more unstable, you could say.
I think of a free-for-all sense. There was
the exact same thing in the history of Japan as well. Like just the amount of leaders that changed, and
people that got overthrown.
Exactly, it was all, and especially because there was multiple different leaders as well, and then like one would get overthrown, and it would cause an entire shift, and then literally all of like diplomacy would be rewritten to a different, like extremely different method type of thing.
Yeah, and that is one thing that One Piece has that most other shonen absolutely don't, is that in most other shonen, it is a personal relationship type thing with some consequences on the wider society. But One Piece really takes the political, social, and global consequences seriously for every action.
I'm telling you, man, I like, as a shonen tard, I don't watch One Piece for the fights. I watch it for everything else. However, Doflamingo versus Luffy and Traffy is an unreal fight.
So it's also cool because until this point, Luffy, since the time skip, he's been slapping everyone, essentially. And now he goes up against this man that he cannot defeat alone, even with the extra tricks that he has up his sleeve.
Yes.
Take it away, Bridget.
I also thought that was really cool because, I don't like when a protagonist, just because they get really mad or really emotional, they win on their own against a more overpowered villain because the power of friendship or the power of I'm mad. I like the fact that in this battle, Luffy did obviously showcase all the improvement from 2 years ago, Rayleigh's training, and all that type of stuff.
Well, he's a manga reader.
I'm a manga reader now.
Yeah, but Riley, it's...
I corrected myself, you petty.
It's okay. It's okay. I get that pain mispronouncing names. And then
no. I wouldn't do it to you. I only do it to Animac because he throws like little hissy fits when people mispronounce things.
Yeah, how dare you?
Oh, for real?
It's Midoriya, not Midoriya, you plebs. No. Anyway, what I wanted to say was that if you think about how this fight played out, and we have Luffy unlocking Gear 4, which was pretty cool. It has the properties of both armament,
rubber, and gum.
Rubber.
Oh my goodness, no!
If it has the properties of both armament and rubber, bro. That's what it was said. It was stated. And no, it's cool because on the one hand, it can have armor, but it can also be flexible, move in different directions, bounce off, all this type of stuff. Really cool, really powerful. And yet, even with that, Luffy couldn't finish the fight off. He definitely hurt Doflamingo and impressed him with his power, but in the end, he couldn't maintain this form for long. And after he depletes his stamina, he needs at least 10 minutes to recover before he can use any haki.
And then you have Law in the background, missing an arm, covered in a pool of blood, and he's like, "Okay, I got this now." It's like, what?
Yeah, so he was trying to help there. The other former gladiators and stuff were all trying to help
Viola,
Luffy time. Yeah, everyone was. Yeah, exactly. Oh man,
Bartolomeo.
I was so upset. I thought they were gonna kill off Viola for like dramatic effect, and I was like, "No, bro, no, she's so hot, and also I want her to hook up with Sanji, please, please, Oda."
Mac,
and it was okay. It was okay, bro.
It's One Piece. They don't kill people off.
They do, man. They do.
Hardly ever.
And Ace is living proof of what Masked Man is saying right now.
To be fair, they don't.
Ace is the exception to the rule.
They don't.
Whitebeard is living proof to what you're saying.
They don't kill a lot of people. However, Viola is a side character, so she's not that important. So that's why I was thinking they might kill her off.
I get your concern. No, I get it. But it's not like a series like I would say Dorohedoro or JoJo's where I'm quite literally watching every episode like someone's going to die. Yeah, people die like every other episode.
Ace dying was so impactful because we were so used to people not dying.
Right, yeah.
And really, it was that moment where it's like, oh.
And then there was this crazy double whammy, both Ace and Whitebeard dying within like 2
Whitebeard,
chapters.
you could, it was easy to see coming. But with Ace, it was like, I thought he was going to get away at that moment. And then it's just like, boom.
I have a very serious question real quick. Just real quick about Whitebeard. Why do we call him Whitebeard when he doesn't have a beard?
Because
he is. He is.
Yo, I was gonna say that he is such a Chad that he called his mustache a beard, and everyone was like, "It's a beard."
No one questioned it.
fair enough. Okay, we can continue.
There we
All right,
go.
but the other answer that plebeians like to say is facial hair in Japanese is translated. It's all one word. There aren't separate words for beard and mustache. So.
Oh, I had no idea. Thank you. The more you know.
Yeah, but the real answer is the Chad one, though.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So I did definitely like the fact that there was teamwork involved in this battle. Like you mentioned, Nox, Law, and Luffy were fighting. Then you had all these other people trying to distract Dofi for long enough for Luffy to recover. We had even Fujitora and the Marines were.
Yo, I'm glad you mentioned Fujitora, because that scene with first you have like Zoro like trying to stop the birdcage, and then you have like, you know, Kanjiro, the strongest freaking samurai ever. I don't know. Kanjuro could probably like beat Kaido or something.
Isn't it Kanjuro?
It doesn't matter. That's how terrible of a character.
Who's the virgin now, bro?
And Kinemon, the other horrible. Okay, I just hate both of them. But anyway, and then they're like trying to push the thing, and then Fujitora's like, "I will help you," and he comes. And they're like kind of working side by side, which is really cool.
Yeah, so that's the other thing that's happening during this fight. The whole time, the birdcage has started contracting and just like killing everything and destroying everything in sight as it gets smaller and smaller until it kills everyone. So you had Zoro and the other guys, Fujitora and them, trying to keep the birdcage from closing for long enough for Luffy to recover. And then he does end up eventually recovering. Thankfully, Viola is safe. We love you, baby. And then Luffy uses the King Kong gun to smash Dofi's glasses, bro. Wow.
Wait, hold on. Dude, you don't just... Bruh. So when he used the King Kong gun, okay, and obviously he impacts with Dofi's attack too. And literally to Dofi's last dying... Well, not dying. To his last breath in the fight, he is smiling. He has a wide smile on his face. And then he gets hit by the gun. His smile fades. He slams into the ground, which freaking annihilates the entire city. And as like he hits the ground with the King Kong gun, and like the city is collapsing, like all around him, you see Law with like Law remembering Korasan saying, "Somewhere far away, there's the family with the name D, the biggest arch enemy of God, the name that pierces the sky, D." And then you see Dofi's glasses cracked on the ground, like. Which is symbolic, obviously, of Luffy being a D and Dofi being a celestial dragon, at least heritage-wise.
Yeah, for sure. And that was foreshadowed, the whole idea of the Ds being the enemies of the gods. And we assumed that the gods here was referring to the celestial dragons because they believed themselves to be gods. And I'll talk about that in a little bit, too, in terms of like where Dofi was coming from this whole time. But yeah, man, he smashed his glasses, which is like the biggest burn. And then he also hit him like the rest of him. And yeah, it was pretty freaking epic. And like you said, Nox, I really like the fact that it wasn't just Luffy on his own because he was mad. There was a lot of teamwork involved. It wasn't as easy. There was the whole thing, him having to recover, the limitations to Gear 4. Right. Yeah, I really liked it. I liked it a lot. I even looked at the King Kong gun in the anime because I wanted to see what it looked like, and it was dope.
Yeah, it was dope.
That's one of the things I really wanted to praise One Piece for, especially in this arc. Because if there's anything One Piece, I would say one of the criticisms I've heard most frequently are the fight scenes, or maybe just the way that they're drawn in the manga. Maybe they're not as dynamic as some other things in the shonen demographic. But if we're talking narratively, what they did with this fight, like everything you pointed out, they used strategy. They really built up Doflamingo as this amazing threat. And they gave him the respect he deserved, because the whole thing that I've noticed as well when it comes to an antagonist is it's not only giving them the right introduction, it's not only the conflict that they can create with the protagonist and their difference in goals. That climax needs to be executed well, because if that climax is killed or it's anticlimactic, right, it pretty much ruins the entire arc and everything that's led up to it.
No, One Piece is always good with the moments, like those impactful moments.
Yeah.
The final
I feel like what you're mentioning about the fights, I think it means the dynamics and the backs and forths of many of the fights. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, you don't have as complex fights in One Piece, like on a technical level, to like even Naruto fights.
Choreograph. Yeah, that's what I meant. Is like that's one of the criticisms is maybe the choreography behind it, but
which is why I always say a lot of the times I actually don't watch One Piece for the fights necessarily, right?
Yeah, same.
I do think they always come clutch with those big moments at the end with the final punch or the reveals. Like they do the moments well. Nux says this all the time, but like the actual like overall fight. But although this fight against Luffy I very much liked because you had other elements involved, like Law, for example. Throwback to Law in Marineford, wondering why he saved Luffy, and then it comes to this alliance, and then he's literally using his overpowered ability to shambles Luffy and like put him right in front for the big attack. And I think that like that dynamic adds so much value to this fight that many other fights in One Piece didn't have.
But again, I'm glad you mentioned it, because when it comes to like, for example, Pain, right, from Naruto, he's like one of the big head honcho villains in Naruto, right?
Pain.
I think I love Pain as a character, but for me, his character peaked with his fight against Naruto.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but when it comes to Doflamingo, I think I'd say I like them pretty. Maybe even I think I like Doflamingo more, even though I really like both of them.
I think, how do I put this? It's difficult. I think they're comparable in the sense that they're both antagonists of just an arc, not an entire story. Like, for instance, others, like it's difficult to compare maybe like Johan to an antagonist who's just of a specific arc.
Yeah, absolutely. But what I mean is, when it comes to Doflamingo, I wouldn't say that the best part of his character is his fight. Like, the peak of Pain was during Pain's fight. The peak of Doflamingo was all the socio-political circumstances that went around his inception.
Right.
But that's actually the same thing with Pain versus Naruto. It's the clash of ideologies, right? And that's the thing that One Piece brings constantly to the table, right?
Yeah.
It makes the fight so much more interesting than just the choreography.
I would agree with you, Briggs, because I don't necessarily like anime just for the fights. Like, fights are a cool aspect of it, but I like to have more things to that. And you're absolutely right about One Piece. The fights are still cool and interesting, and like I said, I like when strategy's involved and teamwork, but the really cool thing is the world building, the consequences, the geopolitical stuff, and you know, the personal emotional moments are there as well. So it's the humor, bro, like, and it really is, everything comes together.
Exactly. And for those reasons is actually why I very much like Pain versus Naruto. That fight has so many more nuances than like other fights in Naruto, for example.
Yeah.
Bro, if you guys keep bringing up Naruto, I'm going to flip out.
All right, so just to finish with this Naruto metaphor, basically, you know how after Naruto won, it was really, really cool because the village finally looked up to him instead of like shunned him.
Right.
Like, that was the first time. So that was powerful. But the powerful like outcome from the Doflamingo fight was after the fight was over, you had Fujitora and all the Marines kneeling before like the true king of Dressrosa. Like that, they made a terrible error. Like, I'd say that both of those scenes are very impactful.
Oh yeah,
but for totally opposite reasons.
Yeah,
and that actually has important consequences. What Fujitora does, because in this,
Fujitora is a legend. I love him.
Fujitora shows himself, you know, definitively to be a moral guy, so one of the moral people in the Navy, and he realizes that the Navy, the government, by supporting Doflamingo as a warlord in Dressrosa, they have been the ones responsible for the misery of these people. So Fujitora, when he realizes this, he bows down, prostrates himself, and like begs forgiveness on behalf of the government. And this is actually shown through the projector snails to many other places. The word spreads through the newspapers, and then the government elders are pissed, and Akainu is pissed.
Dude, Akainu's reaction, Akainu is just yelling at the 5 old dudes, and then someone just runs in and is like, by the way, Law and Straw Hat teamed up, and they defeated not only a warlord, but also the entire country of Dressrosa is in shambles. Get it? In shambles? And then all of them are just like...
They realize the impact that's going to have. Because even though they're supposed to be morally good, the Navy, like at the end of the day, they would not touch Doflamingo or that, like...
Dude, and then you have all the supernovas, like...
Is Dressrosa a country? Is Dressrosa considered a country?
Yeah, it's a country.
Yeah.
It's a country.
But I like the thing you bring up there, because I think that's something also that's very important in what makes Doflamingo, I think, memorable. Is there comes a point after the climax of a story, which is considered the resolution stage, where all the kind of left out things that haven't been tied together get tied together, right? And I think that's really where Doflamingo, because you brought it up, right? The pain analogy, and I was kind of thinking about it while y'all were just talking, is everything surrounding Doflamingo before and after is done to perfection. I don't know if you could really do that better with an antagonist.
So the truth is, Pain has quite the powerful backstory. Like,
he does, but
he genuinely does.
Afterwards, when Obito and Madara get introduced, I don't know. I feel as if what ends up being Pain's legacy after his arc, after his climax, isn't as satisfying.
Well,
as
I agree. The truth of the matter is that's because originally Kishimoto wanted to end Naruto after
the Pain arc, right? Which he should have.
All right, back to the One Piece Virgin, guys. I have a question for Animac, the Virgin.
All right, sure, go for it.
What are your thoughts on Gear 4?
I thought it was an interesting power, and we were talking about the whole size disparity with Doffy and Luffy, and obviously many other villains. And with Gear 4, Luffy can like puff himself up to be bigger, which allows him to actually have a good fight with these bigger villains. Because at the end of the day, size in a fight, in the real world, is a big thing. Like if someone's this massive, muscular dude and you're this tiny person, yeah, if you have a lot of technique, maybe you can win, but it's much more likely that you're going to get your ass kicked because physical's, strength and size matters.
It's just physics.
So I do like that Luffy now has this form, and I do like that it's not so overpowered that he doesn't have any consequences to it. He can only use it for a certain amount of time. He then has to take a break, all that stuff. So I think that is fair. And we also saw that after he did beat Doflamingo for several days, he was out of it again, right? So it's not like he does this and he's just like, okay, it's all good.
Right. So when I first saw this transformation, I actually was pretty upset.
Why?
Really?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think one of the things that I loved about One Piece in comparison, back to Naruto, in comparison to like Naruto and Dragon Ball Z, is toward like as the series kept on going on, the stakes just kept on rising more and more, and it got to the point where like it started off as martial arts, or it started off as like choreographed fights, and then the fights turned into who could blow up a planet or wipe out a mountain type of thing. And One Piece was always much, much more grounded, and the combination of devil fruits, clearly the devil fruit doesn't matter as much as the user. You got hockey, which is broken up into 3 different categories, all of which take training to like master, and it depends on how you use it. And it's still grounded in a form of reality where it's not just who is faster and who could hit the hardest, And I feel like this transformation, when I first saw it, at the very least, I was like, it's cool because it does involve hockey, and it's him using his devil fruit in an interesting way that other people won't be able to do. But at the same time, I'm just like, fuck, now he's fast and could smash hard, And I'm just like, it wasn't so much this specific, but it made me scared of the future. Because the one cool thing that people complained about with One Piece, but I actually loved, is power-ups weren't every other day, It took him a while before Gear 2 was even introduced at Ennis Lobby. That's a long time to see no really like large power-up improvement type of thing. And I actually love that about the series.
The thing is, when Luffy's hair changes color, that's when you know it's on.
Oh my God.
Like, I swear to God, if his hair changes color, it's
I know what you mean. Like, I'm glad that you mentioned this, because I think that the biggest complaint with the Dressrosa arc, because in all honesty, Animac, now that you finished it, would you consider it like one of the big 3 so far? Like, as far as the arcs go? Like, do you think it's Ennis Lobby or Marineford tier?
I think it's up there. I would say probably Marineford is still better to me, but this is top 5 for sure.
Well, so like a lot of people were complaining about Dressrosa in this final battle specifically because Luffy's power up. You had Doflamingo, who before this was obviously strong, but he's not like as strong as an emperor or whatever. Like, it was alluded to that the warlords are weaker than the admirals, like usually. And here, this guy makes a birdcage, and literally everyone is getting slapped by it. Like,
right.
Everybody. That thing was so powerful. So like, on a power level standpoint, I could see why something like this would annoy you. But at the same time, that doesn't really annoy me.
Yeah, so to me, it definitely does seem like Doflamingo is much more powerful than the average warlord, because compare him to like Moria and Buggy. No offense to Buggy, but come on, bro.
Yeah.
But so I do think Doffy is much more powerful. He's much more approaching that emperor level, in my opinion, especially with the cage. It was
that was cute, Anime.
It was explained
because an emperor was actually introduced in this arc.
Yeah, Kaido.
Yeah,
that was nuts. We'll talk about that. But no, so it was explained that, and now we can talk about the devil fruit, because Doflamingo actually awakened his devil fruit. So this is another thing that is introduced, is that devil fruits rarely can awaken, And then not only can, as a paramecia, Doflamingo manipulate only his body, he can manipulate the entire surroundings around him and turn them into like strings that he can use in battle. And that kind of, to me, said, okay, so knowing this now that he has awakened a different level to his devil fruit, it kind of makes sense that the cage thing is a thing. But otherwise, yeah, I could understand where the cage would seem to be like a bit too much.
Yeah,
I think even with Awakening, the cage is too much. But regardless, I do like the fact that Awakening is a thing, and it doesn't matter what devil fruit you have because you have the potential to make it great.
Yeah, if you have a koala fruit and you awaken it, you can just create koalas.
Bruh. Koala are
actually, that was a Joy Boy video. I didn't come up with that. Credit goes where credit is due.
I mean, it's a funny joke. Think about those 1,000 rabbits in
ReZero.
In ReZero, bro. If you have a rabbit fruit and everyone makes fun of you because it sucks, and then you awaken it and you have 1,000 rabbits, there's nothing you could do. Goku gets slapped. Low diff.
The great rabbit, bro.
The great.
Don't mess with rabbits. So I love Dressrosa a lot. I think it's actually a fantastic arc, like through and through. Emotional climax, characters, antagonists, like through and through. Freaking awesome arc.
The only thing, like I said, that's missing is I would have liked to see the rest of the crew involved, and I would have liked to see some, climactic love scene with Viola and Sanji.
Because we do see them risk it all. He was like, "All right, fuck the Straw Hats."
We do see them a bit later on, like after Resolution. We see them there on some like Amazonian jungle type island fighting some random people. So they are gonna be involved in the next arc, but it's just like because so many characters were in Dressrosa and we got to see so many things resolved. It was like kind of feels odd that a bunch of the Straw Hats are not there, but yet we know all these other new characters and they had their own kind of arcs and stuff like that. I do want to say though about Dofi, because I want to talk about his whole like ideology and system of beliefs.
Right.
Because when you look at him, like this guy genuinely believed that he was superior to humans and inherently destined for great things. Like you got to think about it from this way. He grew up believing these things. That's all he knew. Like he didn't go to school like us and get the spiel about equality and stuff like that. Like
he was raised as a god that had slaves and everyone was inferior to him.
Yeah, exactly. So all he knew is that this was the way it should be.
Wait, hold on. Hold on. Wait, we're not superior. What are you talking about? This is the first time hearing of this. Yes.
The point is, like, when you think of it that way, then you understand why Doflamingo felt like he could manipulate people and kill all these people, because he considers himself kind of like if you were manipulating ants or something, right? Like you were like, oh, I'm going to kill off these ants because I don't need them. I don't want them in my house.
Bro, are you an ant racist, Animac?
What's interesting about that, though, is seeing how his brother is different despite having a similar upbringing and his father trying to teach him differently. But I think what really compelled me a lot about Doflamingo is he's like that, but it seems like he has a different heart for the people who work with him, so his crew. And that was always one of the things that was... Yeah, it was one of those things that kind of intrigued me about Doflamingo, because I feel like in his mind, either you're born superior or you work for it. And I think that's kind of how we saw his crew. Like, this is my family. These are people who worked and deserve to be in my family. I like that too, because he, in that sense, he is a contradictory character, because obviously his crew that he doesn't call them his subjects, he calls them his family, even though they're not celestial dragons. So it doesn't really fit with this whole superiority complex. So, and like, I like that. I like when characters are conflicted internally and they're complex. It makes them more interesting, right?
I think he got to the point though, since the celestial dragons wouldn't take him back, he actually started looking down on the dragons at the same time and wanted to destroy them, right? So it was like, he is so superior that he decides who is like his family, the people he allowed to like join him, like he saw them as superior as well, because he decided that type of thing.
They're the new gods, bro.
And for me, the craziest thing is, even more than how fascinating his actual like obvious complex is, seeing that how he got from point A to point Z is insane. Seeing his story and how he evolves from a kid that was thrown into the situations he was, and how he developed into the actual monster that he is right now, That is so fascinating.
And Corazon, adding Corazon into the mix makes it so much better too, because you see, you could understand why Dofi went like with when he left the whatever, like he left the Celestial Dragons and he was treated like trash and almost killed, literally hung up and like torched and stuff. You could see why he would have the mindset that he does. But then you have the contrast of his brother that was in the same situation but was still like good, right? And it just makes it like I can understand why you did it, but you didn't have to, you know?
Yeah, I love those parallels with characters, is seeing two characters put in the same situation but having different outcomes. And I've always been drawn to characters like that, so I'm really, really glad you brought that up.
Sorry for cutting you off, Nuxie Boy. Want to continue?
Oh. No, all good. I'm just saying that I really appreciate his development. Like, it gets to the point that you can actually see where he's coming from, as terrifying as that is. And not that I would wear a pink floofy coat like he does, but everything else I totally get.
Yeah, but he doesn't give a fuck, bro, because he thinks he's a god. And so basically, if he wears it, then that is the trend. You know what I'm saying?
I respect
I'm
that.
gonna be honest.
Make your own trends, bro.
Am I the only one who prefers his Mafia look? Like, that's my favorite Doflamingo, like, design. The Mafia coat with the, like, young Dofi. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like the flashback Dofi?
Yeah, flashback Dofi. I think that
I was being sarcastic. I actually really like the pink fluffy thing.
I like
That's why they call him Doflamingo.
Not even in his Mafia thing, when he had the pink tie, didn't he also have the fluff?
No, it's not the fluff I don't dislike. It's the rest of it. Like, I just really like the suit along with what he has and his hairstyle and everything.
Yeah.
I like that his neck gets thicker with every.
Yeah, he got a John Cena neck. He got that. John Cena neck. Yo, imagine with Doflamingo. Oh no. He just comes in, and when he like stops Luffy, or when Luffy stops him, the John Cena theme plays. All right, no, let's not ruin the scene. But what else about Dofi? I think I've always been drawn to, and you know what else I noticed? Because whilst y'all were roasting my 10 favorites, and I had to do some inner thinking about that, I noticed all of my characters, the common theme about them is they're usually calm, collected, I would argue very well-spoken, well-mannered people until they get angry. And Doflamingo is one of those characters that I think is one of the perfect embodiments of, like, rage. You know, what was the one quote he said?
Can I call you out then on your top 10? Because that really is not the going trend there.
Is it not? They're all like they're all pretty chill until they like Obito. He was a good kid until he snapped and got angry. Guts obviously has
but then he was angry for the rest of his life.
Right, exactly. So anger issues.
That's not like he's usually calm and collected. It's just if he gets mad.
He can be calm and collected. Please, he can be calm and collected. When he was like pretending to be Madara and Toby, like he can disguise.
Oh yeah, calm and collected, right?
And then Naofumi and Broly, Vegeta. I know what I'm saying. It was
Broly's always mad. Someone cried. Someone cried and he snapped.
Broly is like in a sedated mood until he snaps. All right,
he
goes from beta male.
Bon
has moments where he snaps as well.
Not really.
Remember the demon?
That was one moment in a flashback.
No. I'm talking about when they fought. God, I forget his name, but he was like the first major villain. And Bon appears, and he was like, "Oh, so you're using the power of that demon? Well, I'm the one who killed him," and he snaps. But Death is another character on that list who he's goofy, and then he gets angry, and he's just a different person. Like,
dude, that's your definition of calm and collected blows my mind. Calm and collected isn't okay. Death is goofy, and this guy's moody.
Well,
and
they're different.
Man, I'm really gonna start getting annoyed now. We need to bring it back to the podcast.
Back to Doflamingo. Great character, amazing. I just have one complaint about Dressrosa as an arc, and I want to get y'all thoughts on this. I felt as if though Dressrosa, although it was amazing, I love it, the pacing killed me at times. At least in the anime, right?
Oh, I mean, anime post time skip the pacing is just ridiculous. But that's because
I want to say that I think the pacing is completely fine in the manga. So I know a lot of people have complained about Dressrosa in the anime, but I haven't seen the anime, and I don't have any issues with the pacing.
Honestly, the manga
when I read Dressrosa the first time, I didn't even know that this was like a going complaint because I binged the whole arc,
right? And
I didn't know people were complaining about this, and then I was surprised that it was like Dressrosa was like a full tier below, like, you know, Enies Lobby and Marineford. And I get if you prefer them, but I was surprised that it got as much hate as it did. And then I realized that it's because the anime's pacing was a disaster.
It was the anime's pacing, but also both reading and watching it weekly was rough. But imagine watching it weekly, and it weekly aired for over 3 years.
Oh my goodness. No, watching it or reading it weekly must have been a pain. But overall, I think it's a really I think one of the worst takes I saw was someone put, I think, Alabasta above Dressrosa, which for me was weird because I always saw Dressrosa as like the
I know a lot of people like Alabasta more than Dressrosa, and it blows me
away.
away.
How?
People
I don't get it either.
I've seen people say that Dressrosa is just an Alabasta, but kind of like not as good of a version. And I guarantee you, everyone who says that is an anime watcher.
Yeah. Anime-wise, Alabasta was much better paced, but even then, if you look at the narratives behind everything, just the antagonist, Crocodile and Doflamingo is Crocodile done way better. So
yeah.
I think Dofi is definitely better than Crocodile.
So, Animec, is Dofi your favorite antagonist in One Piece right now?
Oh, I haven't thought about it, man.
Or to phrase it differently, did we overhype Dofi?
No, you didn't. He's good. I like
him.
He's good. I like him, and I don't know if he's my favorite because I haven't like sat down to think about it. Like I do like Blackbeard a lot too. I think he's fascinating.
Yeah, I love Blackbeard too.
But we need to know more about Blackbeard. But so I wouldn't get into it yet. But we do have to talk about Sabo, guys, because so we had the whole thing where we learned that Sabo lost his memory. He was saved by Dragon, as we could have speculated, because Dragon was shown rescuing people. And then he kind of just grew up with Dragon not having any memories. All he knew was he didn't want to go back to where he came from. That's all he knew. And then he became Dragon's right-hand man in the Revolutionary Army. But then when he heard about Ace's death and saw his picture in the paper or whatever, that's when all his memories came flooding back to him. So that is why he didn't make contact with Luffy and the other guys before. It's because he was suffering from amnesia. And then obviously when he did learn that he comes to Dressrosa and everything happens, he gets the flame fruit, all cool stuff. But his fight with Burgess,
Jesus.
Is it Burgess?
Jesus Burgess.
Yes. So that was pretty crazy because he overpowers Burgess with the flame fruit and his other abilities. And then
I like that his attack is like called the Dragon Claw, which is cool.
Yeah, and he was about to spare Burgess. He wasn't going to kill him. But then he says that Ace within him said that Burgess deserved to die. And I was like, what? Like, he was implying that after eating the fruit, he could kind of feel Ace's essence or something.
Yeah, that was weird. But it was first of all, I think it was provoked. I think Burgess said something along the lines of, you know what Ace's last words were? Like, don't tell my brother. Something like he made Ace.
He definitely provoked him, but then he implied that it was like Ace telling him, kill this fucker. So, and that made me think about the whole, because Ace is a D, like, is this idea of the Ds being something to do with reincarnation or some sort of like essence that lives on? Like, is there something to that?
Or maybe, I mean, devil fruits reincarnate. Maybe they reincarnate with some, bit of the former user, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I think as well.
However, we haven't heard anything of the sort yet from other fruit users, right? Like, because like Luffy hasn't had any sense of someone else within me is speaking to me.
Nope.
But
also, Sabo and Ace actually had a connection.
Exactly. There's a connection there, so maybe because his like will is maybe passed on in the fruit in some way, like he would openly try to like say something or have some type of connection with Sabo there, or maybe it's just symbolic.
Yeah, no, it is. It was very interesting. I was like,
it was a good scene. I like that scene.
That moment, I was like, what? Yeah, it was cool. So, Burgess, bro.
Because also, let's not forget that even in the world of One Piece as it stands, there are like these weird supernatural things that happen from time to time, like the Cloudbatterman that anime.
Like, yeah, and there is this idea. It's the will of D. So it's like, is it a will that lives on? And what is the will's purpose, right? What is the, like, killing the celestial dragons? Is it tied back to the Void Century? I think it does. But yeah, we also have to talk about what happened then afterwards. So the Navy, clearly, including Fujitora, they clearly allowed Luffy enough time to recuperate, and then they were gonna go capture him. But then I laughed my ass off. The Navy, the Navy guys, they just dropped. Like, Luffy was using Conqueror's Haki on them, but he clearly wasn't.
Dude, that's again why Fujitora in this arc we kind of introduced Fujitora as a replacement admiral. It's like, okay, Aokiji left, Akainu is now a fleet admiral. We need new admirals, Fujitora, and then he's a fantastic character. He is not even close to one of the primary focuses of the arc. Like we focused on Law, we focused on Dofi, focused on Luffy, focused on Sabo, and Fujitora is such a great character.
Yo,
just
guys.
pops out of nowhere.
Guys, do you guys remember the first scene where we see Fujitora gambling?
Yes.
And Luffy like tells the truth and says like what the real color was, because obviously Fujitora was blind. And then Luffy was about to say his name, and Fujitora was like, "No, I don't want to know." And he says something about like a reason as to why he doesn't want to know. And as we know, Fujitora is against like many of the systems and the corruption, like the Shichibukai and other things that are going on. He doesn't trust pirates, especially Doflamingo. So I feel like it was all part of his, like, he's like, I don't want to know who you are, because he's not, like, Fujitora, I guess, wasn't allowed to do anything to Doflamingo because Doflamingo's working for the Marines.
He was a warlord.
But guess what? He has the protection. But guess what? Luffy can. So, like, I feel like he let Luffy go so that, like, justice, because, like, if you look at Luffy's backs, like, all of the rest of the series, and he's done so many things where, like, he fought against Crocodile, and it was for his best interest, but it saved the nation and got rid of a corrupt Shichibukai. And this is just another example of that, you know? So Fujitora kind of let it happen, or wanted it to happen.
Fujitora and Luffy, like, they kind of get along in a weird way. Like, you know how Smoker is, like, learning that, wait a second, pirates can actually be more individuals. Like, that's been Smoker's development, like, in Alabasta, in like Punk Hazard. Like, he gets a weird impression of pirates, and you see him growing. Fujitora is like, I guess, a higher level in some ways, that he is aware that there is corruption and morality among the pirates as well as among the Marines, and he's going to do his best to weed out the corruption.
Exactly. Like, Fujitora knew that it was Luffy and could kind of judge his character pretty quickly, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna let this unfold. I'm not gonna do anything.
And I thought it was really funny when they were fighting, and then Luffy's like telling him, "I'm gonna kick you now, and then I'm gonna punch you." And he's like, "Why do you keep telling me this?" He's like, "It's not fair because you're blind." And he's like, "Stop disrespecting me."
What a good boy! What a good boy!
I love Luffy.
No, it was great.
I love Luffy.
And, bro,
even the little scenes. Luffy's such a great protagonist. Holy crap!
I am so glad that Bartolomeo got to witness this epic arc concluding with the Straw Hats, because to him, he was just like, "Yes."
This was like his greatest moment ever.
Yes, man. I was so happy for him. And right away, I was like, bro, Bartolomeo for Straw Hat right now. Right now, let's do it.
Well. Funny you mentioned that. But before we continue on that topic, we kind of cut to some supernovas. They were doing something. I don't know. They met someone rather important.
Yeah, so we learned some stuff. We learned that the alliance that Kid was making with the two other supernovas, Apu and weird guy, what's his name?
Apu and Kid?
And some other guy.
Maybe, I don't know.
Hawkins. It was Hawkins. Kid,
yeah. Yeah, so then they revealed that they were not going after Kaido. They saw that Law and Luffy would have to face Kaido now because of
Joker.
And they're like, well, that's good because we were going after Shanks anyway. So apparently they're trying to overthrow our boy Shanks. And then in the middle of all of this, we saw Kaido just drop down from a sky island, fall into the earth, and just get back up. And he's like, oh, I guess I didn't die again. And apparently he just like tries to kill himself, but can't because he is so powerful. He's known as the strongest creature alive. And he is one of the Emperor's beasts.
Think about that introduction of a character. A man too strong to die.
Yeah, that is like, pretty epic, man.
I think we also had that scene where the narrator's like, and this, many swords snapped on his neck. He let himself get captured. No, didn't that happen now?
Yeah, he let himself get captured and failed executions. That
like
may have
the
been
guillotine would break on his neck.
Yeah.
The spears would shatter as they hit his flesh. And like he was in warships. He let him it's crazy. And how he just jumps off of Sky Islands to hopefully kill himself.
Dude.
And then he towers over the three supernovas that are all essentially, you know, in the same status as Luffy. Like Kid had a higher Luffy than Bounty when they met up. Like,
yeah,
bruh.
No. He has definitely had a cool introduction, and we've been hearing about this guy for a long time. Like, so it's been set up, the hype has been building, and now he's just like this incredibly overpowered dude. Which, like, you're right, he's even more powerful than Dofi by far.
Right.
So it's like, bro, like, you know, the stakes are just being raised over and over again.
Apparently, Sky Islands are 7 kilometers high, and he dropped down, and just nothing happens. What an
Although
introduction.
this one seemed to be an artificial one, right? Because there was like a bunch of balloons holding it up.
Oh, I don't know.
Even then, that's still nuts. The character that powerful being suicidal is a rare combination. I think.
It's a funny
he's not really suicidal because he knows he won't die, right? It's
yeah, but I think
it's almost like a flex.
He kind of reminds me of Saitama.
I don't
he's
think
depressed.
That it's not. Yeah, he's a very interesting. Honestly, I'm looking forward to learning more about him. Like I feel like every villain in One Piece, like when it's their time to shine, then it's like the backstory. So,
yeah.
Like
right.
It's like something epic is gonna happen, and then you get 20 chapters. That's like, okay, you think it's gonna be epic? 20 chapters of backstory. Now prepare for, and it's like you just lose your mind. All right, so we still need one of those for Kaido.
He's just him and Big Mom have just been hinted at so far, right? Like
I'm glad you mentioned Big Mom, because while all this was going on in Dressrosa, Big Mom's ship showed up, right?
Yeah, and I guess Sanji and the other guys were like running from that ship, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they didn't end up telling us exactly what happened, except that they ended up on some like Amazonian jungle island.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that.
We
shall.
So
we have. Oh, we also learned. We learned that
later.
We learned that Kuzan, Aokiji, was apparently working together with Blackbeard, which I was like, what? That was fucking weird.
What?
I think that was mentioned by like one of the world government guys or something like that.
That who's working with who? Sorry.
That Aokiji was working with Blackbeard. What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I don't know where you got that from, bro.
It was mentioned.
It was mentioned. Yeah.
I don't remember that. People in chat are saying, yeah, all right.
Yeah, I think it was the Akainu scene when they were like, the Navy has been disgraced, its reputation.
Bruh, that seems out of character.
No, it's I remember. It wasn't okay. Whatever. You sure? That's what it seems right now.
Yeah, that's what it was implied. I'm not saying that's what really happened, but if it did, it makes me wonder like why? Because I feel like Aokiji's a good guy.
Right, Aokiji's also a great character.
A complete maniac. So in terms of the whole thing, there was a great moment between Rebecca and Kiros that Luffy facilitated. I like that. Then when Luffy and the crew were getting away from Dressrosa, Fujitora couldn't kill them because all the people were like, "Oh, we'll get you because you stole our princess." But in reality, they were like getting too close to Luffy for him to drop his like massive gravity attack, the rubble, onto Luffy. So he got away. And by the way, Fujitora is freaking overpowered when you think about that. And then we had 7 captains, including Bartolomeo, pledging loyalty to Luffy. And they were like, bro, Luffy, you can lead this fleet. You want to be the Pirate King here. We are your fleet. We pledge our loyalty to you. And he's like, you know what? That's cool. But like, I'm more interested in just doing my own thing. Kind of like he doesn't want to have a great armada because that's a lot of responsibility. He just wants to be free. That's what he means by Pirate King.
I'm not saying, okay, responsibility is one aspect to it. I think it's more than just not willing to take on responsibility. He doesn't like the idea that people's dreams are beholden to his necessarily.
I mean, yeah, that's a good point too.
I think that was more of it.
Yeah,
that's why it was so impactful when he turned them down. Well, sort of turned them down.
So he turned them down. He's kind of like,
and
yeah, he's like, I don't want that type of relationship. And then they were like, well, we're still gonna single-handedly pledge our loyalty to you, and we're gonna be there no matter when you call us. We're gonna be there for you because we are still loyal to you, Luffy. So I was like, yo, that's pretty freaking sick.
Yo, that was so sick because I mean, right now we have all of these guys with like massive armies. How's Luffy and his 9 crewmates gonna contend? But
yeah, exactly, right. So I was always thinking like, all these guys like Whitebeard and stuff, they have multiple like ships and captains working under them, and then Luffy's just them 9. But now he actually has allies. I'm sure they're not going to be traveling with them the whole time, but they're going to be there in certain moments. And it was actually foreshadowed because it said that this alliance of these 7 captains who pledged loyalty to Luffy, they're going to stir some shit up in the future. There's going to be some historical event that they create, but that's later on in the story.
And I have great news. The great news is Masked Man can re-enter the conversation because we have a conversation between what's his name? Dofi and Sengoku. Sengoku? No. Was it Sengoku?
Wasn't it that old lady?
Old lady!
Marine?
Yeah. Her. Bruh, that conversation was fire.
Yeah, that was him. That was Dofi talking about how all of these, everything you just did, it disrupted the balance. There's going to be hell to pay for this, and you're going to regret it. And the old lady was like, well, then you shouldn't have lost, bro. That's the price for losing.
No. But like, you have Dofi chained up, blindfolded, in prison, on the ground, immobilized.
Lying there. Yeah.
Bro,
starts
big grin on
at
his
the
face.
end of it. Yeah.
Laughing. Who rules the seas now? Could it be one of the emperors? Maybe it's one of the Shishibukai. Or maybe it's one of the worst generation. Is it perhaps the Navy? Oh, and there's also the Revolutionary Army. Maybe it's the family D. Who's going to betray whom? And he has this whole long joke, and he's just like, well, I hope that the nobles in Mary Joy are ready to be dragged off their high horses. It all
just connects back to his Joker thing, because what was the one quote? It was, some people just want to see the world burn. Yeah, I think that's the feeling I get from DOFLAMINGO. And that conversation is just interesting, because I'm looking at him there, and I'm like, I mean, I don't know, just seeing him let himself it seems like he's just letting himself be there, and he just wants to observe what happens from now on.
Yeah, he's a fantastic character. I love, there's a character archetype that I find myself really appreciating, and it's the Jester archetype. It's an archetype of a character that just likes to observe. You see it like with DOFLAMINGO, Isaiah from Durarara, Gilgamesh from Fate Zero. Like, there's this observer role that I really love in characters. And just like the idea of Dofi cackling in prison, completely chained up, saying that, Roger became the first to cross the Grand Line 25 years ago. His rival was Blackbeard, and he decided not to take the throne after Roger, but to bow before it. What happens now? The numbers of pirates have fluctuated so much, and there's only one throne. Don't you get it? It's already starting. The biggest one in all of history. The war for the throne.
Yeah,
you meant to say Whitebeard when you said Blackbeard.
That's where this arc does great as well. Is that stage, that final piece of an arc that's so essential yet underrated, is that resolution stage, is that transition into the next major conflict within the story, and for DOFLAMINGO to kind of give that talk and to pretty much he did it before too, back when he gave a speech about justice as well.
Yep, by the war
himself. Yeah. Is like the winners determine what is justice.
And that's another thing I like about One Piece. Many stories humiliate the villains after they're defeated.
Yeah.
And with One Piece, they really don't do that. Like, DOFLAMINGO is still an extremely respected character, even though his big arcs is over.
Yeah, and the thing that's cool about Dofi is that even though he's a celestial dragon, like you mentioned, he hates the world government and the other celestial dragons. So he knows that secret, right? Remember that secret that he knows that he has leverage over the dragons? Like, that is so fascinating too. I want to learn more about that. So yeah, Dofi definitely remains a very interesting character. Like, he's definitely going to play more roles in the future, because specifically I know because of that secret that was announced. I'm sure that's going to come up again. But isn't it in this speech that also he says the people of the D have smoldered beneath the currents of history? When will they show themselves, and where?
Yes. Dude, yeah. I love him.
Yeah, that's, again, the D, right? The big D energy. That's what I'm interested in, because it's connected to the Void Century, and I feel like it's connected to the side that was fighting against the Celestial Dragons during that war. How is it connected? We're going to see, but it's definitely connected.
And, well, I think that a great way to wrap up every big saga is with new bounties. Honestly, it feels so good. It's like our little boys are getting noticed. And it's even funnier this time that Bartolomeo is like so proud, and he's like, I have to show you your new bounties. And
he framed them. He framed them on a ship.
He's so proud. Yo, it's like Luffy, so whatever. Luffy's gets up to 500 million, which is pretty crazy. And he's like, yes, 500 million. Zoro's 320 million, whatever. Everyone increases. God Usopp, 200 million berry bounty. Legendary. It's higher than Sanji's.
You ever wonder what would happen if you ever got a bounty on your head for that much?
I'd sell myself. But anyway, dude, I think the funniest thing, well, it's not funny, it's also suspicious. And you end with sort of a cliffhanger. You see Sanji's bounty, and it's like, wait a second. It says only alive, not dead or alive.
Yes. That was interesting. Why?
Bro, I love One Piece.
Why was, like, I was thinking maybe, someone from the Island of the Drag Queens like wants him back, but then I was like, why would they be controlling the bounties? Like that wouldn't make sense. But yeah, people wanted to also talk about. First of all, can we say Chopper is still 100 berries? Like, come on, guys.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I hate to need to leave in the middle of the podcast, but if we would have started on time, I would have been fine.
That's cool. No problem. We're
Just
gonna
saying.
just talk a bit about the whole Sengoku and Law thing, because that was also people in the chat mentioned that. And yeah, so Sengoku was kind of like a mentor to
All right,
Corazon.
take it easy, guys. It was a pleasure. Thank you, Mr. Mask-san.
Anytime.
See you, Nux.
Peace.
Hell yeah. See you, Brigo. See you, Mac.
See ya, man. So yeah, so Sengoku was like the mentor to Corazon when he was secretly an agent, a marine trying to stop Dofi. And then Sengoku kind of meets Law and realizes, okay, so this guy that I loved, my mentee, died to protect you. You're that kid who had that disease and you're still alive. So they have like an emotional moment where they bond over their love for Corazon and their kind of just their stories that kind of came together at this point.
I'm back, Briggs.
I think that was the one of the more satisfying things about it as well was not only the conclusion of the entire arc, but seeing Law, and his entire history with Doflamingo, because his relationship with Corazon was a big one for sure. I think it's most appropriate to refer to the relationship Corazon had with Law as like an older brother, younger brother type thing. And so for Law I love Law, by the way, but for Law to kind of reach that moment of resolution for his character when it came to that, and for them to then have that emotional talk, I think that was a really neat moment of kind of like wrapping that up.
Yeah, and it emphasizes the idea that within the Navy, there have been good people like Sengoku who have for years trying to do the right thing.
Right. Yeah.
And, and again, Corazon was the one who tried to stop his brother, even though they had the same upbringing and suffered the same injustices. He was like, I know this guy's going to destroy Dressrosa. He's going to hurt a lot of people. I need to stop him. And in the end, though, he sacrificed himself for Law because, maybe he could have stopped him if he didn't risk it all for Law. But at the end of the day, Law then turned into who he is today. His life was saved. And now he has a chance to make an impact on the world thanks to Corazon.
Yeah. That's such a crazy thing, though, to think like how different Corazon and Dofi really are, and just seeing where Dofi, like the fact when I saw that in his backstory that he shot his own dad. How old was he? Was like what, 6 when he shot his own dad in the back, or like 8?
Yeah, I'm thinking like between 6 and 8. Yeah.
Yeah, like he just pulled a Glock on his own dad. Like that's when someone's gonna grow up.
Props to Oda for making a 6-year-old, even just straight from character design, the look in his eyes and facial expressions, look like an absolute
angry.
Fucking mad lad.
Yeah. Just pure vengeance and pain.
And
like
craze.
You can see it. Yeah.
And we will never agree with what Dofi did and what he believes, but you can understand how he came to believe that because he was indoctrinated his whole life into thinking he is above other people, and then he became trash that other people, look down upon and mistreated. And he's like, this is such an injustice. Like, this is not how it should be. Like, I should be the one ruling over them.
Yeah.
Not
like a sociopathic tendency.
Yeah, and it's like
dominance.
It just changed his whole. Something flipped inside him. He lost it, and like I said, you can definitely see where he's coming from based on his own personal experience and context. Even though obviously we would never agree with what he's doing.
Totally, yeah. I mean, heck, if you were like strung up on a building, were fire underneath you, beaten to a pulp next to your younger brother and dad, shoot, that might make you do some crazy things too.
Oh, 1000%, bro.
Yeah,
for sure.
So you can understand where his. I think the origin of his rage isn't entire, like you said, but I think like the origin of his rage then feels a little justified because of his circumstances.
It feels justified, and but then again, at the same time, all of his actions don't justify it. And then you see his brother who ended up being good regardless of what happened, and it's like there's all this layers that make him such a great character.
Yeah. And what was I going to ask? Briggs, what are our chapters for next week?
I love how you're asking me. Okay, Naxi Boy left us. Give me 1 second. Continue talking about stuff.
Sure. No, overall, I really like this arc. I thought, like I said, I think the pacing was absolutely fine. We did it over the course of 4 weeks here on the podcast, and I enjoyed it a lot. You know, there was a lot of moving pieces, but it all ended up coming together really well. And leading up to that final battle, you had certain smaller battles, you had all this stuff happening, and then the big final battle, and then the aftermath, as you said, Masked Man. Like the battle, the aftermath that kind of reshapes the world, and we think about the consequences that all of this will have for the world. I love that. That's one of the best things in One Piece as well. It's like, it's not just, this was an emotional moment for us, but we won and power of friendship. It's like, what we just did is going to impact the world and the balance of power and the politics and the social stuff, for who knows how many years to come.
Yeah.
All right,
and
boys.
I hope whoever is coming from, if not anyone who also watches my channel, clip this, right? Because I'm known to poke fun at One Piece every now and then, just trolling. But this is one of the moments where I can look at a story and say, from everything from its expositional stage to conflict to climax to resolution, I think it was nothing but 9s and 10s across the board.
Hell yeah.
And that's very rare to see that, especially within the shonen demographic, because it's either they don't introduce the antagonist at the right time, therefore the buildup isn't proper, the climax sucks, or they might do the first 3 things amazingly, but then the resolutions, everything that kind of cleans the story up afterwards, is a mess. And it ends up just detracting from not only the antagonist, but just the overall arc. And so this is one of those arcs that I think had everything.
Yeah, it is so much more impactful that, the final villain in this arc was someone we've known in this world for a long time.
Yeah.
It wasn't someone who was just kind of like, it wasn't an ass-pull villain that you just meet him and it's like, oh yeah, well, this guy's a big deal in this world. You have to accept that now, even though we've never heard of him.
Even look at the warlords that obviously we're going to be seeing in the future. Like, the warlords were mentioned in the first 25 episodes of One Piece, and then slowly we learned one of them is named Big Mom. We got an interaction with her on Fishman Island, and then we learned about Kaido in this arc, and obviously we're going to be seeing them in the future. But it's not just like, oh, we get at the arc and here's an enemy. Everything is kind of foreshadowed in the beginning.
You're talking about the emperors.
Did I?
Yeah.
Did I
think
say
you said
warlords?
warlords.
Oh, my bad. I'm talking about the.
But yeah, you're right. It's been foreshadowed for a long time and built up for a long time, which makes it more satisfying when you finally get there.
Totally. That's one of the fundamentals of writing a story that I've been able to really pick apart, is whatever major antagonistic force in your series. I mean, just look at Berserk, look at Monster, look at One Piece, Naruto, Hunter x Hunter. These are series that have some of the greatest antagonists of all time to boast. And when you look at those antagonists, their presence, whether they take action or not, is always made apparent early on for those reasons. Foreshadowing, proper build-up. It makes the story feel a lot more well thought out than it does just like a ton of ass pulls.
Yeah, and that's what I really value with One Piece. I think Oda's an amazing writer in that regard. Like, even look at when one domino falls, it affects so many different things. With Doflamingo being defeated, so many doors and things change. And if you look back at even Crocodile being defeated in Alabasta, that made many people in the government doubt the Shichibukai system and warlords in general, because at the end of the day, they're pirates, right? So that's kind of like, it's
and I mean, it's like the real world, because actions have consequences, especially big actions on a global scale.
Yeah. Okay,
Briggs, do we have the chapters?
We do have the chapters, and I love when One Piece does this. You have a huge arc followed by a short arc. So we have Zou, which is 802 to 824, and that's the entire arc.
Nice. So 824 will be the last chapter we're reading for next week. Thank you guys for joining us. Masked Man, thank you for joining us.
Anytime.
Check out our man, The Masked Man, on YouTube, but not on Twitter because he doesn't use Twitter.
Yeah.
We also, of course, had Briggs and Nux.
Nux and Briggs.
Man, at least when he's not here because he left early, you don't have to do it, bro.
Shout out to my amazing marketing, Beastly Briggs, All Day Anime, Briggs ADA. I'm different on every platform. You only deserve to find me if you're able to.
Yeah. True story. I'm just at Anime Out Pro everywhere, bro.
Yeah, your brain is large. What can I say?
Hey,
Yeah.
but if there's any consolation, every time they say Nux and Briggs, if I'm around, we can do what is it, Mac and Mask?
Mac and Mask, bitch.
We have something. We have something.
Yeah, I gotta fight back
You
against
already failed. When Animax says Mac and Mask, you gotta be Mac and Mask.
Oh, is that how? I'm sorry. I'm new to this. I'll pick up on it next time.
go.
Forgive
There
me
we
of
go.
my sins.
No, it's okay. We'll get there, man. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Guys, again, thank you all for your support. Everyone who watches live and chats and contributes. Everyone who listens to the podcast, watches on YouTube. We really appreciate you. If you want to share the podcast, it helps us a lot. And until next time, see us, Space Cowboys.
Bang.
Peace.